Let's say you're making an RPG. Congratulations, I believe in you. I'm pre-ordering it right now. But you've got a lot of things to focus on. Your protag's missing that spice. You can't ship your villain with anyone. Gotta fix that. It says here you're using the reels from Unlimited Saga. That's a choice. And all your environments feel kinda flat. Well, lucky for you, we can fix that one. It takes more than a pretty skybox and some cool level geometry to make a battle map feel like an integral part of the game. But a little bit of theming and some light mechanics can go a long way. Let's talk about a bunch of RPG battle screen quirks, and how you can sprinkle them in to set a killer stage. And you know, if you need some help coding it, you could always check out today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev helps you figure out if a career in programming is right for you. They've built a whole bunch of bite-sized lessons on the Python and Go programming languages, gamified the entire thing to make it fun at every step, and then they take you by the hand to teach you what you need to know about back-end development. They aren't teaching you weird tricks and gimmicks or anything. These are the real fundamentals of programming, and if you stick with it, Boot.dev can set up the foundation you'll need to succeed as a programmer. If you're wondering whether you're cut out for coding, this is the best way to find out. It's way cheaper than formal classes, and their active Discord community full of learners like yourself can help you when you get stuck. They've even got a 30-day no questions asked refund policy and a demo. They've made it super easy to try out. Click the link in the description box and use my code DESIGNDOC to get 25% off your first payment for Boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or year, depending on the subscription you choose. Think like a programmer. Sign up for Boot.dev. Alright, how would you go about making your RPG fight arenas better? Let's start basic. Where you gonna fight? Now, strictly speaking, you don't need to have where you fight reflect where you are. Earthbound doesn't bother with that. But come on, having your setting change appropriately to reflect where you are or what's going on in the story is really the least you can do. Theme your space. It helps keep combat from getting too monotonous or stale over time, especially if that theme impacts how the fights go down. If you want some bonus points though, take cues from games that have come up with a larger, overarching theme for their battle stages. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door has a charming skeuomorphic approach to battle. You're fighting on an actual stage, like a stage play stage, with a live audience full of Koopas and Toads and all kinds of Mario species and Luigi. Both the stage and the audience can influence battle in several ways. As you perform attacks, the background sets can fall over, damaging you. Lights and other objects might fall from above, dealing pain and maybe a status effect. Maybe even a good one. There's things here to freeze you, create an accuracy lowering fog, pouring some water on you to get back to normal, setting fires, explosions, you name it. At specific levels, the stage itself upgrades, and the interactions will get more and more complex over time. The audience has a lot going on besides. The people will come and go as you do better or worse in fights. Doing stylish moves, which are optional actions you can take mid-battle, or just asking them all to believe, can get your fans to cheer you on and boost your star meter. Everyone's a critic though. Some might even throw rocks at you, or hammers. You can go out there and deliver justice yourself, just don't scare off people who are just trying to help. Different Mario species have their own traits and behaviors that can influence the battle in their own way. Toads are great at cheering. X-Nauts are X-Naut. Shy Guys jump on the stage and trigger hazards. As more species appear and the audience expands, more and more random events will occur. A few bosses might even break the fourth wall and a few laws by wreaking havoc on the audience. Should have signed a waiver. Paper Mario's battle system isn't all that complicated. The actions and interactions in combat are relatively simple, but this thing is so overflowing with charm that it's fine. The set falling apart adds a layer of unpredictability while still being an element right at home with the theme. The audience reacting to how well you're doing and how well you're pandering directly to them feeds back into the game's mechanics to help you along. It's all these little wrinkles that help keep the combat system more fun for more time. Okay, so you've set the stage nicely, but Paper Mario's stage theme also gets to our next major point: environmental mechanics, and how they can affect the tides of battle. So why should a game bother to have environmental mechanics on its battle screens? Your combat should be fun enough on its own, right? Well, sure, if you can manage it. RPGs are rarely short games, and since a ton of the runtime is likely going to be spent in battle, your players are going to spend a lot of time fighting fights on these screens. Even if a game's combat is fun at first, there's a graveyard full of games whose combat outstayed its welcome. Over time, you learn the ways to win, and you do them. Over and over. And over. It becomes a routine, and a lot of these games don't really have a great way of shaking you out of the routine. Once it sets in, these games are in severe danger of having their combat turn into a dull, predictable slog. So, what can we do about it? On its surface, Pokemon battles aren't that complicated. The game is meant to be very playable by young kids with just some basic understanding of type mechanics. If that was all there ever was, there might not be that much to grab onto if you wanted high-level competition. Over the generations though, the series has kept its basic surface and added more and more layers just underground. Since Gen 2, Pokemon has had weather effects that influence fights in a few ways. Weather can occur naturally in an area, or it can be set up temporarily with a Pokemon's specific moves and abilities. The weather, in turn, affects other specific moves and abilities. Rain, sunlight, sandstorm, and hail, now snow, all favor different Pokemon types. If it's raining, water-type moves will get a power boost and fire-type moves won't. Sunlight is the opposite. Hail and sandstorms gradually damage Pokemon without the right type, ability, or held item. Snow removed Hail's damaging effect, and instead boosts the defensive ice types by 50%. The more recent generations added terrain moves that respectively can boost up grass, electric, psychic, and debuff dragons. The system is a little haphazard and selectively boosts only a few types, but it does help make battles feel a little more like it's actually taking place somewhere, instead of just in a cordoned off fighting zone. Weather isn't a crazy prominent feature in the single player game. It'll influence some fights and can help your team if you build around it, but it's rare for the campaign to use the mechanic against you. It's much more geared for the competitive scene. Specific moves get major enhancements in some weather, like Solar Beam not needing a turn to charge up during harsh sunlight. The same team in different weather can go from a joke to a powerhouse. And since only one weather effect can be active at a time, there's a ton of room for counterplay. Also, cast form exists. It's not that good. If weather's not your thing, you can affect the field in other ways. There's a subset of traps, or entry hazards, that you can use. Whenever a Pokemon enters the arena, they'll step on some spikes and get hurt, or a stealth rock comes flying in from the expanse. Not all of these are damage dealers either. Sticky Web lowers your speed, which can completely mess up your plans to try to win before your opponent gets another turn. Whole moves are designed around negating these traps, like Rapid Spin and Defog. Again, all these are little wrinkles. One small change to the norm, but one whose effects ripple throughout team compositions and strategies. These mechanics, while niche, can dramatically help the depth and complexity of a game's combat. Adding environmental mechanics to battle isn't without risk though. Even simple changes can have big negative consequences. Chrono Cross has a relatively simple physical battle system and a way more complicated magic system. Each of your characters has an element grid, full of slots to put all your spells in, and natural levels in that board for magic to be, and boosts and penalties for placing your magic in the wrong place, and affinities, and all kinds of stuff. But up in the top left corner, there's this field effect icon. That's an extra bonus on top of everything else, for casting magic of the right color at the right time. Each spell that gets cast fills in the centermost icon in the field and pushes out the rest. So it's really just keeping track of the element colors of the last 3 spells cast during the fight. The more matching colors you have in the field effect, the more of a power boost you get for casting a new spell of that color. If opposite colors are in the field, that'll weaken whatever you're casting. Easy, fun, a quick little wrinkle to get some bonus damage in there, right? If only. The field effect system also handles the game's summons. There's some real fiddly half-baked trapping mechanics in here to get a summon, but let's say you've got one. These are the most powerful spells of that color in the game, and they all have a cool summoning animation. A spell this powerful though can only be cast when the field is just right. Every segment has to be of a matching color, or else your summon's not gonna summon. That doesn't sound so bad, right? Well, the thing is, not only do your characters add to the field effect, your opponents do too. Every random spell cast by a boss or some jobber will push out the other colors. When will they get their turn to cast? Who knows? It's probably right after you cast Blue Field, and right before you had a chance to summon the Frog Prince. Now no one gets to have fun. It's extremely tough to set up the environment to get a summon to trigger. Your best bet is to try to play with your enemies and cast the same color that they're casting. Though if you do that, how much damage are you going to do anyway? If your summon is a big fire-breathing salamander, do you really want to use that thing to attack the fire elemental? Chrono Cross's field effect seems like a nice and easy little addition to a battle system, but in practice it actually locks away some of the cooler battle animation content, and is an unending source of best laid plans laid to waste. What else can map effects do? Well, they don't have to just be there for their own sake, they can contribute to an overall effect. Some mechanics can help you suspend your disbelief a little. These mechanics can help a world come across as a touch more realistic. Unicorn Overlord isn't as complicated as the crunchier tactical war games, but the environment can still change how you approach a fight. The game's story puts you on a mission of liberation, going town to town to free Fevrith from super evil, and collecting allies along the way. The game plays just like Ogre Battle, which plays kinda like Fire Emblem with little unit squads running around in real time. When a stage begins, you're dropped into a portion of the overworld map. You'll put together squads of characters and send them off towards map objectives, like bridges, forts, and towns, fighting enemy squads along the way. The game heavily emphasizes tactical fighting, so there's way more to battle than just bumping your little armies into each other. Unit fights have plenty of tactical options to explore, but the environment has its fair share too. The terrain is as varied as real life, with forests that obscure vision and hide units, thick brambles that damage on contact, roads that speed along travel, and impassable rivers and mountains. The map topography might funnel you towards a confrontation in places where the defender might have an easier time of it. Nearby units can provide firepower, and permanent defensive structures like towers can give an advantage. You can impact the map yourself too. You can bury magic mines, set traps to ensnare, start fires, or put them out. You can hide behind temporary barricades that must be broken down, or hide inside a mantlet for a defensive boost wherever you stand. The same fight between the same squads can have totally different outcomes depending on where the engagement happens. The game even has a little bitty day-night cycle. Most of the time it's cosmetic and doesn't really matter, but there are a handful of classes that are much stronger when fighting at night, so you could use that to your advantage. The variety of tactical options the game gives you help you steer the battle and have it play out in many different ways. It gives variety to maps, making each fight feel a little more unique, and making you think through squad composition and leaders a little differently. Some maps are laid out where taking Griffin Riders over mountains might be the fastest option. Some might force you to sweep through forests to make sure you aren't letting a straggler get behind your lines and capture objectives you thought were safe. Cutting through rough terrain is just one part of the game's strategic texture, but it makes a huge contribution to Unicorn Overlord's distinctive feel. You don't have to settle for a light dusting of realistic interactions though. If you've got the time and the development budget, you can get infinitely more complicated with how the environment reacts with your character's combat options. Baldur's Gate 3 is unbelievably detailed. Not only does the game basically have every major mechanic in the D&D rulebook, but they go to ridiculous lengths to give satisfying payoffs for player actions that barely anyone's going to do. The fight arenas aren't just grids of terrain, they're full of objects to interact with, things to perceive or not perceive, items that react to all kinds of different spells in your arsenal, combinations that are logical, but so specific it's amazing to see that these interactions actually work about like you'd expect. Use this stone chandelier, dip your weapon in a fire, throw an explosive pouch, hit it with an arrow, and blow up this whole group. Smooth talk your way through things without fighting at all. Collect all the spider webs. Push a guy off a cliff. It works. Any cliff. Your dice rolls may fail you, but a cliff won't. D&D is steeped in improv, and to see a completed high-budget game actually reflect those roots in a satisfying way is a miracle. All you need to do is be Larian. So, get on that. Battle terrain doesn't have to play second fiddle at all. You can make entire games where the shape of terrain plays the most important role in combat. There are a number of games that make terrain control the main feature of their combat system. In Mega Man Battle Network, battles take place on a 6x3 panel grid, divided down the middle. You can move in real time to whatever panel you want on your side squares, but you can't cross over to your opponents. This battle arena is pretty featureless to start, but it's not going to stay that way. You're equipped with special chips that allow you to mess with the terrain. Most of those involve converting your opponent's panels to your side temporarily, or damaging and destroying them outright. Your opponent will be doing the same to you. These moves can make it much harder to move around your side of the grid, and the game's tactics revolve around how to pin down your opponent by taking away their movement options. Managing the field both offensively and defensively is the core of Battle Network's combat, and the different ways to do it can give enemies their own identity. One enemy's whole thing is to attack with a ground-shattering earthquake that destroys every panel in a row. The panels take a while to respawn, so what you want to do is bait the attack out in the top or bottom row so you can still move to the rest of the grid. If the attack hits the middle, you're going to get stranded. You can get trapped in a corner if you're not careful and get blasted down by AoEs that you can't escape. Other enemies like the steel columns of your territory corner you and then finish you off with powerful melee attacks. This is a solid basis for combat, but there's one snag. By itself, this system is beholden to geometry. A corner piece will always be a worse position than the center, where you have the most movement options. To keep this from getting stale, the game throws in some elemental effects on top of the grid. A healing grass panel, a poisonous swamp, slippery ice, searing lava, and magnet panels that'll pull you in. Different attacks benefit from standing on one or another type of panel, so the right moves to make aren't always the same and will depend more on what panels you're working with for that fight. Or, you can take things into your own hands and change the arena yourself by clearing out the panels you don't want, or adding a nice sturdy rock for defense. Battle Network's grid arenas make that game. The different options you have at your disposal for changing terrain make for a deeper strategic experience than it appears at first glance, and create the series' signature combat feel. Okay, so Mega Man puts a layer of stuff over their terrain. One extra property on top of a flat grid. What else can you do with terrain layouts? What if you made a game where the exact geometry of the space mattered a little more? That might be a fun angle. In Steamworld Heist, you're a group of scrappy steam-powered robot pirates roaming through space and raiding even scrappier pirates for delicious loot. It's not far off from a 2D XCOM with gun aiming instead of a percent hit system. You send a small squad into enemy ships and fight your way through, steal as much as possible, then get out of there. These arenas are small and cramped, and being picky about where you're standing is crucial to whether you'll get out of there alive. Some squares provide cover for you to crouch behind and make you harder to hit, but there's more to the level layout than that. Taking enemies head on is often not the best approach. You can manually aim your shots to maximize damage and use your opponent's surroundings to your advantage. Many of the weapons have ricocheting bullets, which let you use the stage geometry to pull off some crazy billiards trick shots. Some weapons even have laser sights, and let you preview your latest bright idea and adjust until you get what you want. Shooting an explosive barrel is too obvious. Trick shot explosive barrels are way more fun. You'd be surprised at how much more effective you can be when you have this level of control, and you'll need every bit of it to clean house and get out of there in one piece. There's no way to play the game without considering the space. A new level can just be another pirate ship with different rooms, and every new layout becomes a new problem to tackle. You don't have to come up with 1,000 new mechanics to be able to make 1,000 different experiences. So environmental hazards can be a pillar of your game's tactics, and they can add a dose of realism, but can they do anything for your game's characters? Sure. Valkyria Chronicles uses terrain for cover like a lot of other strategy RPGs. Crouch behind some sandbags and headshots against you won't count. Hide in some tall grass and you're basically invisible. That kind of stuff. It's not revolutionary, but it's useful as a way to make your surroundings matter beyond just line of sight considerations. Beyond that though is the potentials mechanic that adds another strategic layer to the game. Each of your soldiers comes with several potentials, special traits and personality quirks that have a chance to trigger effects under the right conditions and give your characters a buff or a nerf. A good number of these traits are location based. Some characters feel more at home in a city-like area and get a defensive boost while standing on paved roads. Others feel the opposite and might get an accuracy boost on a dirt road. Claustrophobic people don't deal with trenches very well. Some might have a pollen allergy and gradually take damage if they're stuck in a field. Some people are really into other people, and others Oh no. Everyone's a little different, and the array of different locations and possible trait interactions give every one of your units opportunities to either shine or struggle. Who you choose to fight with is no longer only a matter of who's the strongest. Where you're about to go can inform what characters you're going to bring with you, or which objectives you have each of them perform. It's not so overwhelming that you can't overcome a bad map for a trait, but it definitely gives an extra dimension to every fight you're fighting and to every character you're sending into battle. Even this tiny bit of characterization, barely a single character trait, but one that can show up in gameplay, can help build up an anonymous character into someone you'll remember. Head for stable ground, down in our comments section. If you've got a game we didn't mention that has some weird terrain mechanics, let the people know down there. We'll pop by too. Terrain mechanics really do help give life to generic spaces. Connect the dots between the environment and the characters, or to the game's strategic approach, or even just creating a couple of extra thematic layers, and you can elevate your space.